So, I've never actually told anyone this story before, but I almost quit YouTube, and it was right before I hit my big break. And it's a classic story, right? I was putting in tons of hours thinking I was doing a lot of hard work, but my YouTube videos were getting 30 views and nothing was seemingly going right. And honestly, I felt like I had just hit a wall. I really wasn't enjoying myself. And I just felt like this wasn't for me. I wasn't cut out to do this YouTube thing, and maybe I should just stay in the career that I had and what I went to school for. But it was in this journey that I learned a hard but necessary lesson. It wasn't that I wasn't cut out for YouTube or that I wasn't applying myself with a ton of effort. But the lesson was that I was applying old principles and old methods to a new season that required new principles and new methods. Because once I changed my perspective on doing something difficult like growing a YouTube channel from scratch, and I found a method that actually worked for me and my needs in this new season, everything turned around and everything changed for me. And now that I'm in the top 8% of all YouTube channels worldwide in an ultra competitive niche, this has taught me something very important that likely applies to you and your YouTube growth journey. And if you found this video, you're likely in a season in your YouTube growth journey known as the dip. So, in this video, I'm going to go over why it is so important to stick with growing your YouTube channel, knowing when to quit or pivot what you are doing, and how to know how to navigate this season known as the dip. Sometimes what feels like failure or hitting a brick wall is just you using the wrong approach for the season that you're in. And sometimes what may feel impossible is really just your future you asking you to stick it out just a little bit longer. And so, this concept called the dip is actually a book that was written by this author named Seth Godin. And here's how it applies to your YouTube growth journey. Maybe you finally decided to publish that first video or first few videos, or you finally decided to dedicate consistent time and energy to making content. And I want to say that's something that is really worth being commended for because there are over 115 million active channels on YouTube, and only about 60 million of them actually consistently create content. And of those, even fewer actually achieve monetization. They get 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So, if you are at any of these thresholds, basically, if you've published a video, you're already in pretty elite company when it comes to YouTube. And this is how the journey goes. This is how Seth Godin describes it in his book, The Dip. You may remember, or you may be feeling this right now. The first few weeks, first few days, they feel amazing. You're motivated, you have a system down, you hit your first threshold of 100, 200, 500 views on a video. You're on a roll, but then unfortunately, that's when reality sets in, and we've all experienced this. For me, I got some good traction initially. A few of my videos got a couple of hundred views. I actually even got some clients who had found me through those videos local to my area. I would consider that a pretty great success. And then partway through this first season, that's when the momentum starts to slow a little bit and the reality of what journey you've embarked on really starts to set in. And for you, this is maybe where you felt like progress started to stall out. And so basically, it feels like you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, but you're not getting anywhere, and we're back at the same place. But I want to tell you something incredibly important. This is the most important part of your YouTube growth journey. And here's why. You haven't been taking action on YouTube for the majority of your life. In fact, you've probably spent less than 0.5% of your entire life even thinking about YouTube. But the reality is that all things, especially those things that are worth doing and achieving, they take time to build the habits that sustain that success. These patterns and the foundations for success aren't going to happen overnight. And I think we all intuitively know this, but sometimes it helps to hear it differently. This is where the rebuilding and the hard work actually begins. And this is laying the foundation for the new you. But the problem is that in most cases, all of this is happening behind the scenes, and there's no real indication that that work is actually taking place in terms of results. And because it happens when you can't see or feel it, it feels like nothing is happening at all. And unfortunately, this is where most people quit. And it's almost always right before they hit their exponential breakthrough. It was this way for me. Literally, I thought I was having to quit this YouTube thing by about the 20th video. And then all of a sudden, everything just took off. So, this is where we dive into principle number one. The dip always tells you the truth. The first thing that changed my perspective on this is that the dip always tells you what you need to hear, but not necessarily what you want to hear. When I was struggling in those first couple of months as I got started on my YouTube journey, I thought I was doing everything I needed to do. And I also told myself that I would be fine and I would just get through it. But honestly, what I needed to hear was that the strategy and approach that I was using wasn't going to sustain me into a season of success. But I needed to hear the harsh truth of that reality. And it goes the same for our YouTube growth journey. In this journey, the dip is exactly the same. The dip isn't trying to discourage you, not at all. All it's doing is showing you exactly where you are in the process. It's showing you what needs to change both in the now and in the future. And the harsh truth is that a lot of us haven't actually built the foundation necessary to carry us into a successful season after the dip. But also, you don't need to be hard on yourself because none of us are actually prepared when we step into this journey. It's just not realistic to expect ourselves to be somewhere without having put in the work. Because think about it, if we haven't been working on our YouTube channel for 40 years, like maybe we've been doing other habits in our lives for 40 years, we just haven't built those habits necessary to continue to push through and persevere in growing that YouTube channel. So when we are committing to building our YouTube channel, our systems and our habits are still evolving and they're still growing. And once we decide to do something about it, like the day we decided to commit to growing our YouTube channel, it's kind of like turning around the Titanic. Everything in our life was moving a certain direction. And growing a YouTube channel is a commitment. And so we need to reframe, recalibrate, and sometimes reorganize our lives to support this pursuit. Just applying a quick fix or a burst of energy isn't going to set us up for success in the long term. It might get us some momentum, and that's important. We need momentum early on in the process. The problem is that the entire ship isn't going to turn until we commit all of our effort to that new direction we want it to go. And so the dip is basically giving your body, your mind, and your habits time to adapt and readjust to the new reality your life is headed towards. Basically, it's not punishment, it's just preparation. And for me, this changed everything because rather than feeling like the dip was a punishment for all the effort I put in, when I chose to see it as an encouragement that I was headed the right direction, my outlook changed. When things get harder or progress slows down, instead of panicking and discouraging yourself, you can rest assured that this is just a part of the process and it can be a signal that you are headed in the right direction. You're being reminded that you are on the right trajectory and the right path for success in your life. The dip also protects you from habits and success that you weren't prepared to deal with. If YouTube success with growing a business or going viral was super easy, then everyone would be viral. But with that, you wouldn't be making the changes necessary to sustain that success. And here's an example of what I'm talking about. Peyton Manning, the Hall of Famer NFL quarterback, he had multiple neck surgeries. And after all of those neck surgeries, which I can imagine were pretty traumatic and painful, he actually had to rebuild his entire throwing motion. Basically, what made him a success as a quarterback in the past, now after these neck surgeries, they just weren't going to work. But he knew in order to build off of the success that he did have in the past, he was going to have to change his tactics for the now. And so during rehab, the struggle, the dip, it wasn't telling him to quit being a quarterback. What the dip was preparing him for was just a different type of success with new tools. And so in the 2015 season, at the age of 39, after coming back from those multiple neck surgeries, he won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. And this wasn't because he went back to the old version of himself, but because he became the version of himself that was necessary for this new season of his life. And so your YouTube growth journey works the exact same way. The dip isn't trying to get you to your old self, it's trying to prepare you for this new season. So, how can we use this to our advantage? Well, we can use the dip as a lesson in formation of new habits rather than a discouragement. When progress slows or we feel like we've hit a plateau or failure, we can remember that this is all part of the journey. Basically, we need to ask ourselves, are we in the dip? And maybe all we need to do is constantly ask ourselves, how can we show up and be 1% better today than we were yesterday? On the days that feel difficult, the days that we don't feel like showing up, if we can get 1% better every single day, we can know that that's laying a foundation for greater success in the next season. And what this is doing is building the best version of ourselves. But this leads us into lesson number 2. We need to know when to stay and when to actually switch up course. Because here's what's important: not every single struggle is actually worth pushing through. Sometimes in our YouTube growth journey, we're being told that this path isn't right for us. Maybe our audience is giving us feedback that we need to change direction or overhaul our channel entirely. And that's the key, because we need to press in, reflect, and understand whether this is just a tough season or a blaring siren to change direction. We need to learn the difference between productive difficulty and the signal for a hard stop. Because just like I had to change my analytics, my title and thumbnails, and even my scripting, in contrast to this, many creators learn that they're just not cut out for the type of content that they're creating, and that's okay. And you know what? I know many people who have decided to stop making YouTube videos who are successful engineers, they're great spouses, they are successful business builders. It's just YouTube, it wasn't the right time for them. But they found a path that worked best for their strengths and talents. So, of course, not all is lost. So, how do you know that the journey you're on is actually the right one for you? Well, first of all, you need to ask yourself the question: is this a calling of mine? Now, what do I mean by a calling? Well, basically, if you stepped away from this, would you be stepping away from the opportunity to do something that is greater than yourself? Is your YouTube growth journey coming from a place of knowing that you are meant to serve others in a way that is bigger than you are already doing? Would the world be better served by the gift that you are putting out into the world? Would the world be a better place if you push through this low season and continue to offer your expertise and your passion? Basically, if you are doing this just for chasing the views or for going viral and making yourself bigger, eventually you're going to burn out. But if you're doing this from a selfless perspective, from a place of service and from a place of making the world a better place to be, you will be successful. And in my journey, the reason I knew that this was the case was that I knew I was meant to serve more people than just my family and the people I was seeing in my clinic. I knew that more people deserved to be out of pain. Nothing was going to get in the way of that calling, that deep sense of purpose. That faith and that determination allowed me to push through the things that were trying to get me off course and to stop me from serving the people that have benefited from my videos. It is that sense of purpose that helped me to push through the dip. The second question that we can ask ourselves is, are we learning and are we growing? Are you learning lessons that you didn't know before? Maybe you didn't know that you had weaknesses and you need to improve them, but those are necessary to help you grow an even better channel. Do you know what helps you create better content? Do you know what's hurting you? Have you learned that you work better in the evening or in the morning? Even down to these minute things, the dip might be helping you figure that out so you can become an even better creator. And so, if any of the answers to these questions is yes, you're learning something, then the dip is here for a reason. The third question we should be asking ourselves is, are we building something or do we feel like we're tearing something down? Your YouTube journey, no matter what stage you're at, should feel like you're building something, right? When we're building a house, it's messy, it's complicated, and it takes a lot of time, but it's going to reveal something that is meant to last generations. However, if what you're doing is consistently leaving you feeling worse about yourself, that might be a sign that you're not actually building something that is meant to last. Lastly, can you find things to appreciate about the daily process? Good difficulty leaves you feeling like you accomplished something or you did something worthwhile. Bad difficulty leaves you feeling like you crashed your head against the wall over and over and over and over again and you got nowhere. Maybe you just need new topics, a new approach, or maybe some timely insights from a friend or a mentor or a coach. And seeking that outside help doesn't mean that you failed. In fact, I believe it is the definition of wisdom. And so the second task that we need to commit to is to rededicate ourselves to sustaining our growth. And it's important we write this down and put it somewhere in front of us that we'll see it every day, not just say it once or twice and then hope it sticks. Write down not what you think you need to achieve, but how you're going to achieve it. And then challenge yourself to fulfill that every single day. Start with, I'm going to commit to growing my channel, and not just because of a reason that is selfish, but for a reason that is greater than yourself. Like, I'm going to grow my channel so that in 6 months, I'm going to have more time for my family. Then, after that, write down ways that you know it will be challenging to achieve this objective or these goals, and write down how you are going to overcome that challenge. Maybe your work environment is standing in the way. Maybe it's your daily habits and routines. So write down what is standing in the way of you growing your YouTube channel, and then figure out how you're going to either work around that or remove it from your life. Finally, set very clear boundaries for yourself. You need to know when it is the time to exit and when it is the time to stick it out. One of those boundaries is if you know for a fact that this is going to cause you more pain than you can handle. Maybe there's a risk that is too great for you to be comfortable with in this journey. If that's the case, that's okay. You've defined your boundary and you've saved yourself from a lot of heartache. What this is ultimately about is making a decision that is informed and wise enough to both give you an opportunity to grow, but also an opportunity to exit and not ruin yourself. And so the third lesson is probably the hardest one, in my opinion, and that's that you can't fix everything at once. It's honestly one of the hardest for me to accept, a type A personality and someone who just wants to fix everything all the time. I see this constantly. We're coming up to the new year. Maybe you're seeing this in January of 2026, and you have resolved that you're going to build your YouTube channel this year. This is the year you're going to change your life. So you film 15 videos in 15 days, and they're all ready to go, and you're ready to publish, and everything is going to work this time. You're going to publish all of them, and they're all going to go viral. But unfortunately, what happens with situations like this is that people get overwhelmed, and then when results don't come in as quick a time frame as they had set the expectation for, they get defeated and eventually they burn out. And what's worse is that they often are back right where they started, feeling worse than before they even started. However, the problem wasn't from their lack of willpower or determination. In fact, almost all of us have enough willpower to do something great. The problem is that your body and your soul can only handle so many drastic changes all at once. And that's not meant to be a criticism against you. In fact, our body is only designed to make so many changes at one time because doing so otherwise would actually cause us harm. It's basically a protective response. And so when we're in protective mode, most of us just shut down and we get discouraged. So instead, we need to focus on one or two very specific things and reframe our idea of success around those two objectives. Maybe it's improving your titles or your thumbnails, or maybe it's just putting out one quality video per week instead of five poor quality videos. Maybe it's shortening your hooks. But all the actions that you are taking for a week or a couple of weeks that are focused on one specific area will help you to not become overwhelmed. And what this will do is this will help give you enough energy and enough encouragement to see real results over time. And it will give you the patience to endure that. Because real change, especially when it comes to YouTube growth, does take time. I personally hit monetization from starting from zero in 45 days, but I know so many other creators take upwards of a year before they hit their first 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Either way, the common thread between them and myself is we all gave each other enough time to work our way through the dip. And so, what I want you to do is this. I want you to write down one specific goal that you know you can stick to for the next couple of weeks and see measurable improvement in with focused effort. I'm not saying write down the thing that would give you the quickest or the most dramatic change. I'm saying write down the thing that you know you can commit to and stick to. Ideally, this would be something that helps you lay the foundation for sustainable YouTube channel growth. Maybe it's writing down topics that you have seen have a little bit of traction or have kept your audience focused and engaged with your channel for the longest amount of time. Then write down those topics and commit to making more videos about them and making sure those videos are high quality, not just for the sake of quantity. I want you to remember that you're not abandoning the other goals that you have for your channel forever. But what this will do is this will help you navigate the dip so that you can come out the other side with the habits and determination required to be successful. And so, why does this matter? Well, what you are doing is you are proving to yourself that when the going gets tough, you have the stamina and the determination that is worthy of having a successful YouTube channel. Every time you show up for the process, you are building something that is much more valuable than a successful YouTube channel. You're building the identity of someone who is determined enough to get through the hard times. And this strength, this muscle that you've trained, carries over into every other area of your life. So if you're in the dip right now, if you feel like you're doing nothing right, if you're questioning your approach, you're questioning your resilience, and you just don't know if you're cut out for being successful on YouTube, I want you to hear this. Your channel is working even when you don't feel like it is. Even if it doesn't feel like it right now, your body, your soul, and your mind and your channel are all growing in a way that will be sustainable for the long term. This dip, this plateau, isn't proof that you're failing in your YouTube growth journey. It's proof that the journey is necessary. So don't let this temporary frustration steal from your future self. The person that is you in a few months, in a few years, maybe even a couple decades from now, is counting on you to make the decisions today that will set themselves up to meet that future person. The strength you build now will determine whether you live your later years with a life full of regret or whether you will live your life in a way that you can be proud of. And so here's something I want you to hear from me. Your voice is needed. That desire to impact the world, your unique perspective, it has become even more valuable in today's day and age, especially with the rise of fake slop AI content that is absolutely ruining all of the social platforms out there. People will be craving an authentic, real human experience, and you are the right person to share that. If you're in the USA and you have a product or a service that you can sell for $100, let's say, and 1,000 people buy that, that will be enough to replace your 9 to 5 job, the thing that's soul sucking. If you're a gardening enthusiast, you may create a method to help people who are just starting gardening that saves them time, money, and energy. And so if you sell that for $100 and it saves them $3,900 in time and energy, you can help 1,000 people with that. You've made yourself a comfortable living. And just know that there are 1,000 people out there who will be attracted to your message in this example, because guess what? There's 7 billion people on earth, and there's enough room for everyone to start creating on YouTube today. And so the dip is just the path between where you've come from and where you need to go. Stay with the process. And remember, the only way out is through. So if this resonated with you and you are looking for help with your YouTube channel growth or getting to monetization, I'd be happy to help. I have my free 7 days to publishing your first video checklist that you can download in the description. It's 100% free and it will help you go from no videos to publishing your first video in as little as 7 days. So click the link to grab that. We also have my paid school community where you can come join fellow creators who are working on their channel. Inside, we have weekly channel reviews and audits. I have tons more resources there to help you grow your YouTube channel in the most sustainable way possible. I'd love to see you join. And if you know that you need one-on-one focused effort, I have limited spots available where we can work together and give you specific tailored advice to help you grow your channel in the best way possible. So book a call with me and I'd love to see if we can work together. Lastly, if you want to see a video where I go over the exact metrics behind the scenes, the analytics that led to my YouTube monetization in under 2 months, click here to see that video where I go over all of those and I give you that behind the scenes tour. Would love to see you in that video. All right, hope this video was helpful and looking forward to seeing you in the next video. And remember, your breakthrough is right around the corner. Thanks.